Hello, everybody, and welcome to OpenExO Live. Really great to be with you this evening or morning or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And today we have, Soushiant Zanganehpour, who is in Canada. And as you can see on the screen there's some amazing people coming up in the coming weeks. We actually don't have anyone next week. Next week, we're taking a 1-week break. And we'll be starting the third season of OpenExO Live in early September, which is really awesome. And before we get Soushiant up on stage, I wanted to just share this comment, which came from Kent. He just said, I met Soushiant several years ago when I was mentoring a Singularity University GSP. I was mentoring his cohort. I watched Soushiant navigate the waters of starting a new company with his new ideas deftly and generously. There's nothing easy about starting a company, but one thing it requires more than any other is grit. You have to keep pushing, keep trying, keep going. Soushiant exemplifies this, and it's been a pleasure getting to know him over these past years, seeing him navigating sway through the ups and downs, twists and turns. He runs a tight ship and cares deeply for his team and his company. So, Soushiant, welcome to OpenExO Live. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. What a nice way to start it off. Appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure. Always great to get folks from the community who know one another, who are working with one another, just to share a little bit about each other. And so, if you could, as we start today, just give us a bit of background. Tell us about Soushiant. How did you come to be and all the way up to being a part of this community?
Sorry, one sec. My lighting is acting up a bit on me. Let me. I don't know where to start, but I think who I am today is definitely a distillation of all the experiences I've had so far, and I'm an entrepreneur and social scientist. At my core, I'm a troublemaker as well. I like to do and say things that are not necessarily convenient. So I might explain a bit about Sway and why we built it. But I have had a very international upbringing. I left Iran during the revolution, the tail end of the revolution, end of the Iran-Iraq War. I was 5 years old when we left, and I traveled to several countries before coming to Canada. And since being in Canada, which is sort of home base, I've lived in France, I've lived in the UK, and I've lived in the UAE for significant periods of time. I've always been an outsider in these countries and these environments, kind of integrating inwards, and the consequence built a lot of empathy for people that may not have a voice in systems. And I care very, very, very much about people having a voice in things that matter to them, particularly decisions. And I think the place that's sort of most exemplified is in the organizations they belong to or the places they live. The decisions that happen in those two environments have the most consequence on people's lives. And in fact, they're the places we have the least amount of autonomy and agency in today's world. And I find that crazy. We can personalize every little decision related to our shopping and consumer trends, but we have very little say about what our cities end up doing or what the companies we belong to, the directions they go or the choices they make. So, sorry to go on a bit of a tangent, but
no, that's awesome. Yeah,
that's me through and through. I care about people. I care about systems. I've studied systems growing up. I have a background in public policy, a background in management consulting. I've started a few different companies. This is the fourth. The first one in tech, and the first one being a totally non-technical founder. So I haven't instinct for just doing things
Yeah.
and thinking a lot about them as well.
Awesome. And so for those of you who are watching, if there are any questions you have, of Soushiant, or whilst the conversation is going, please do stick those in the chat on whichever platform you're on, and we'll look to get to them. So you've of course been a part of the community, since before it was OpenExO, right? Right from the early days of exponential organizations being written, and so could you perhaps share a bit your views of how it's sort of been, how it's grown, how it's evolved, since a book club, for the book?
It's a super funny story. I had some experiences that led me down this path of wanting to start Sway, and at the time it was just called Up, pre-Sway. And it sort of led me down the path of finding singularity and thinking about the application of technologies in service of giving people more constructive voice and decisions. So I've been on this path. I've had some experiences at work that I've seen decisions made in bad ways and exclusive ways and stuff. So came to singularity, and I wasn't a non-technical person. I really didn't care so much about robots and space and stuff, and I was just really, really obsessed about how do these technologies get combined to give people more agency, more voice, allow them to organize in different ways. So clearly I cared a lot about the same space that Salim was occupying.
Yes.
Exponential organizations, when it come out, and what he was talking about was like my jam. And so Salim was also one of our last speakers in our cohort, and I remember, and he was Canadian, and I'm Canadian. There were only 4 or 5 of us in the class, and we were out on a walk, and we were sort of waiting for Salim to come to the classroom, and I saw him at a distance, and I sort of went up to him. I'm like, "Hey, man, so, I love what you're doing. Guess what? We're gonna disrupt some governments together." And he kind of looked at me like, "Who's this weirdo? Like, what's he talking about?" But lo and behold, like whatever it is, 5 years later, OpenExO, one of his brainchild, is leveraging Sway to make consequential funding decisions on what they decide is important for community members and what isn't. It's a governance tool for them, and I sincerely believe that there will be more and more opportunities for us to work on even higher consequential projects together as the entire team. So I saw OpenExO at the time, or EXO Works at the time, it was the consulting arm of this book. It was a way of accessing that intelligence for companies and organizations that didn't want to get disrupted. And so I became one of the, I trained as one of the consultants. I did the training courses and was part of various, summits and stuff. Like we went to Spain. There was several gatherings in Dubai that we helped organize with Paul and other folks. Was part of the certification processes. I shared, I think, some knowledge and stuff into that. Trained other people. So like I drank the Kool-Aid hard. I had a vested interest in seeing this model actually go out into the world because it came from a good place, and it sort of reinforced what I wanted to do as well. Where I've seen it expand or change, I think that the segmentation perhaps of the OpenExO and EXO Works was probably a positive thing. I thought that Emily's leadership of EXO Works as a consulting practice was extremely valuable. I'm biased. I love her. I think she has a tremendous amount of presence and leadership and strong opinions that in the world of consulting can be looked up to very highly. And I think she's the type of leader that has the right ambitions to try to scale this in different places. But I think that, you know, that structure and the OpenExO structure probably weren't very compatible. And so having some distinction that both can coexist is the right way forward. But I don't know where this goes now.
Yeah, we ultimately, you know, I love what you're really just saying about how you know it sort of started with extremely good intentions, and we've had an interesting road and a bit of a bumpy road at OpenExO, but ultimately, you know, really driving towards you know, solutions for organizations, whether those are businesses or governments, and leveraging our community, you know, which is growing and is now, you know, represented across pretty much the entire world, is quite an exciting prospect. And I do definitely think, like you said that day to Salim, hey, we're going to disrupt some governments. You know, that's definitely on the cards, and excited about that. So that sort of brings me into speaking a little bit about Sway. So for folks who are watching who have never heard of it, let's just start there. Like, what is it? How does it work? What do you do? And then we'll get a little bit more into where you really wanted to go and what the vision is.
Sure. At its very core, very functionally, people that don't know Sway, it's an idea management platform that works from the bottom up. It allows you to collect ideas and turn those ideas into decisions through a merit-based and bottom-up process. We leverage some technology to help people write better proposals. We allow the crowd to feed into other people's proposals so that they can improve and they can be de-risked. And the whole goal is to help you discover and kind of source ideas that are hidden within your bureaucracy, your organization, your community, and float them to the top through this process in a very efficient way. That's what Sway does. It just provides that kind of digital workflow, something people trust, and it's transparent and stuff like this.
Absolutely, and essentially, you know, within the EXO model, Sway is a tool to help an organization with the social attribute, right? The whole idea of the social attribute is that you're bringing, you know, decision making to more. You're reducing the latency of communication within the organization, and with Sway, you know, you giving that voice, you know, to the organization. It also aids with autonomy, right? So internally, depending on how you structure decision making, you really can, you know, give a whole lot more autonomy to your organization. And an example of that is the way we're using Sway, right, within the EXO economy, and the broader OpenExO community, to give people the opportunity to apply for grants of exos for amazing ideas, and that is then giving those people the autonomy to go and implement that, right? Which is really amazing. You know,
it is. I just to, you know, interject slightly to provide another perspective of it. I think from a user side, it's incredible to have this channel to voice your concerns in a way that you actually believe it. You know, like, people don't fill out surveys anymore. People don't do these focus groups and stuff because they don't know where the feedback goes. There's no guarantee that there's going to be anything acted upon, and you don't see what other people said either. So very, you know, strong disincentives for engaging in things that feel futile. But from a management side, like, yeah, okay, it is almost a give, but there's also a take that happens subtly. When you do empower your stakeholders, your employees, your people to have a voice, you're going to collect better quality innovation. On the flip side, on the back end, you're going to get more loyal employees. You're going to get people that buy into the mission the vision, the core of what you're doing, you're going to have higher retention. You're going to increase the health of your organization as a consequence. So it is a give and take. People that don't want necessarily those, marginal upsides or really, really important upsides, then they can maintain the same systems they have in place that limit the amount of voice or scrutiny that are included in decisions at an organization. But we don't believe that's the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And essentially, yeah, I mean, what you've built here is really what we believe organizations of the future need, right? Organizations of the future are becoming more decentralized, are becoming more autonomous, are giving voices to the entire organization, so that you do have stakeholders internally that really believe in what you're doing. This is also why it's really important to have good purpose, right? Good MTP, that people are all aspiring to. And so, can you share a little bit, about how? I mean, obviously, Sway gets used for decisions that possibly people don't want to share with the general public. But can you share a little bit about how Sway is being used, and really what the ultimate sort of vision and goal for Sway is?
Sure. That's yeah. Let me be really practical about some of the clear use cases of Sway, and then where we think there's, where the long tail of it could go. Companies use Sway to either source better quality innovations, to build a rich pipeline of investable innovation ideas for new products, new services, improvements to existing things that they have, or there's a particular operational problem that they want creative solutions for. So Etihad was using it to try to extract innovation from parts of the organization that traditionally don't have a voice. They were a 25,000 person company. They had fleets, they had people working on the conveyor belt, they had people unloading luggage, they had stewardess and pilots that don't have laptops. All of these have a tremendous amount of intelligence because they're interacting with different parts of the business. And they had nowhere to provide creative suggestions on operational improvements or new investments or whatever. So they used Sway as that one central hub of collecting, prioritizing, refining, and graduating the best ideas into investment decisions. They found about $5 million worth of investment-ready decisions from this process in about 6 months of using Sway. On the other side, much smaller use case, you don't need to have a 25,000 person company. We just published this case study as well. A pharmaceutical, a life sciences company across Canada called Life Labs, and one department within Life Labs was facing a really, really painful and costly retention problem. They were losing a lot of technicians due to the competition over finding technicians from COVID. All the health authorities were like poaching their technicians. So they used Sway to be like, guys, this is going on. We're bleeding out these very, very important and costly, resources, talent. How might we plug this gap? What are the best ideas for giving people the incentive to stay and protecting them and attracting new ones here? So through a 30-day challenge, a few of the mid-managers who may not have a seat at the table came up with some really clever and elegant like rewards, incentives, and a payback system, scholarship payback system that has now been implemented and has saved them almost $200,000 of lost training costs. So wow. It's not for the future of It's not for future organizations at all, really, Kevin. I hope future organizations don't have any of these problems. It's for organizations today. It's for companies that
Yeah.
are facing problems that exceed the cognitive capacity of 2 or 3 people. It's
Yeah.
for companies that believe that there's intelligence to mine in the organization that isn't finding a efficient pathway up. And just one data point to mention, in most industrialized countries now, the largest, not only voting population, but working population are millennials. And by 2030, they will make up almost 75% of the voting population and the working population, meaning they'll be in more consequential positions and roles. They're already in them, from mid-management to up and above. These people have a difference. I'm a millennial, you probably are as well.
Yeah.
We just have a very different way of operating and expecting transparency and meritocracy and other stuff that currently isn't in the workplace. You want to retain your best talent, you got to meet them where they are, not force them into your systems and processes. They can just leave and go somewhere else. Those are today's problems. They're not about tomorrow at all.
Absolutely. Now Gary's asked a question here on LinkedIn, just saying, what have you found is motivating participants the most? What is the virtuous circles that keep high signal to noise in the system?
That's Gary, I love you, and thanks for all your support over the years. You and Anne, both of you, lovely people. What we've actively not tried to do is like gamify the system with false signals of success. We wanted to really test whether people had intrinsic motivation to voice an idea. So we didn't include points and badges and all this sort of stuff that normally, give people maybe a false sense of progress on things. So what we found is that there is a cohort of people inside most organizations that have been sitting on ideas for more than a long period of time, more than 6 months, and just haven't had the right channels to channel those in. Those seem to be the initial, the most like the super users of Sway. They're the ones that bring in the most amount of content and invite more people. And what we found is that expressing the idea isn't enough, is that they actually need to see if it gets to a decision that something is done with it. Even if it's a transparent rejection notice of, guys, this is not an idea that we can go with at the moment because of XYZ, because it's duplicative or because it's too costly or whatever. That sustains their likelihood. We found that folks that put ideas in and even face rejection are 1.5 times more likely to re-enter new ideas. And those that don't get any answers or their ideas go nowhere, when they achieve a decision-ready status, are 10 times more likely never to engage again. People need the loop to close. It's human nature. We're not built to participate in one directional things. We need something back. And that the most important thing back is the dignity of an answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we actually have another question, and this will have to be the last from Donna, just saying, what is the profile of the executive who sees value of Sway, who sees the value of Sway?
Thank you, Donna, and love you too. Lots of exchanges together on various topics, self-management, other stuff too. The profile of the executive is more a value set than it is a demographic set of attributes like millennials and this and that. They are people that can buy into the principles that we're setting forth, that decisions should be made with the most amount of inclusion, based on metrics, based on merit, and based on transparency. it's usually people who have really high emotional intelligence, or they're people that believe in inclusion. They're inclusive leaders. They are change makers. They are entrepreneurs. People that have those attributes that are like looking to make improvements on a regular basis tend to be the people that the concept lands for them more clearly than others.
Awesome. And so Sushant, we've pretty much come to the end of the time allotted, and it always goes by so quickly.
That was
so
fast.
We love just to end just with, what is it you'd like to share with, with those that are watching, those that get to see the recording as well?
I don't know. It's a big big ending. I think that we have a lot of problems in the world, and I think that if more people were included in the designs of those solutions, we'd have other things on the table to select from. People would have a lot more pressure to be accountable to the choices they've made. I think the most important, my bias is the most important way of changing the world is including more people in the design of those decisions. And it starts in our organizations, it starts in our communities and other places. I hope you agree and you create even things that are even better than Sway, but move this mission forward. We're not bystanders. We can't be bystanders in today's world. Everyone needs a voice, and I hope you guys can support the long-term mission, and please give us your feedback and other things. But lots of love to everybody. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, Sush. Great chatting to you, and looking forward to chatting in the next couple of weeks about how we're using Sway. So awesome.
Sweet.
And
awesome.
See you again soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. So that was Sushant. Great chatting to him. And a reminder, we won't be live next week. Go and watch one of the recordings from the previous week. We've had over 55 people from the OpenExO community here on OpenExO Live. And we'll see you on, I think, the 9th of September. Thanks so much.